Extract from C. H. Spurgeon's letter to his father, March the 9th, 1852. I have all along had an aversion to college, and nothing but a feeling that I must not consult myself, but Jesus, could have made me think of it. It appears to my friends at Cambridge that it is my duty to remain with my dear people at Waterbeach. So says the church there, unanimously, and so say 3 of our deacons at Cambridge. Letter from Deacon King to C. H. Spurgeon's father. Waterbeach, March 20th, 52. Dear Sir, having heard with deep regret of your intention of placing your son at Stepney College, I write to say that if you were aware of all the circumstances connected with his ministry at Waterbeach, I think you would defer doing so, at least for a time. Allow me to say that since his coming, the congregation is very much increased, the aisles and vestry being often full, and many go away for want of room. There are several cases of his being made useful in awakening the careless, and although we have only known him about 5 months, the attachment is as strong as if we had been acquainted with him as many years. And if he were to leave us just now, it would be the occasion of general lamentation, mourning, and woe. Added to which, he has no wish to go, but rather the reverse, and his friends in Cambridge, who previously recommended his going, now hesitate and feel disposed to alter their opinion. If you, sir, could come over and see for yourself, you would find that this account is not exaggerated, but perhaps would be ready to exclaim, the half was not told me, that we may be divinely directed to act as shall be most conducive to the promotion of the Redeemer's glory in connection with the best interests of those around us, is the sincere desire and earnest prayer of yours respectfully, C. King, on behalf of the church and congregation. P.S. Our friends are very anxious that Mr. S. should continue with us at least a year. Your acceding to this would cause many devout thanksgivings to God, and we hope would be attended with lasting benefit to many amongst us. A line to this effect would much oblige. April the 6th, 1852. My dear Father, I am sorry that anything I said in my letter should have grieved you. It was nothing you said that made your letter a sad one. It was only my thoughts of leaving the people at Beach. I thank you most sincerely for your very kind offer, and also for your assurance that I am at perfect liberty to act as I think it is the will of God I should act. I am sure I never imagined that you would force me. It was only my poor way of expressing myself that caused the blunder, and I do now most affectionately entreat forgiveness of you if I said anything that had a shadow of wrong in it, or if I have thought in any wrong manner. I have desired all along to act the part of a dutiful son to an affectionate parent, and if I fail, I feel sure that you and dear mother will impute it rather to my weakness in act than a want of love. With regard to my decision, I have said so much in my last that more would be unnecessary. I do really think it to be my duty to continue in the place which I now occupy, for a short time at least. I have been assured that never were more tears shed at Waterbeach at any time that when I only hinted at leaving, they could not give me stronger tokens of their affection than they did give. One prayer went up from all: Lord, keep him here. I am assured by Mr. King that the people have had ministers whom one lot were very pleased with, but there always was a party opposed. But now, though he has a good scope for observation, he has not heard one opinion contrary to me. The Lord gave me favor with the people, and I am so young that they look over many faults. I believe this is one of the facts of the case. The worst is, I am in a dangerous place. The pinnacle is not so safe as the quiet vale. I know you pray that I may be kept humble, and I know I do. Oh, if the clouds pass without rain, how sorrowful I shall feel. When I have been thinking on the many difficulties in preaching the word, the doctrine of election has been a great comfort to me. I do want men to be saved, and it is my consolation that a multitude no man can number are by God's immutable decree ordained to eternal life. So we cannot labor in vain. We must have some. The covenant renders that secure. I shall always be glad of some of your skeletons, for though I do not want them to make me lazy, yet they give me some hints when a passage does not open at once. It will be too much trouble for you to write them, but I have no doubt Archer will copy them for me. As to my cash, I have bought a great many books lately, for my constant work requires them, and you know Mr. L. would not have many of the class of books I want. Yet I calculate on having £15 in hand at midsummer, or by God's blessing more. I think that, of course, I mean, if God prosper me, I shall be able to save enough to put myself to college, and if not, if I should go, which, as you say, is not very certain, why, then friends at Cambridge would help me, if I could not manage it. Has my dear sister taken the positive steps yet with regard to joining the church? If not, tell her I blush that she should blush to own her Lord. Do not forget me in earnest prayer. My very best love to my dear mother. I am sure she can tell all the mothers in the world that parents' prayers are not forgotten. I dare say you think God saved the worst first. If you do not, I do. I believe I have given you more trouble than any of the others, but I did not mean it. And I still believe that I have given you joy too, and I hope the trouble, though not repaid, will yet be recompensed by a comfort arising from seeing me walk in the truth. Remember me to Emily. The little ones are getting big, I suppose. My love to them. I hope they will be God's daughters. I remain your affectionate son, Charles.